Alright, so we have pretty much completed the symmetrical modeling of the character, um, and uh, we're on the last stages of the last part of the symmetrical modeling. That's going to be dealing with his face, his mouth, getting his teeth going, and yeah, I think I'm pretty. The hair is going to be probably one of the last things we do, um, because the hair is going to be asymmetrical, um, and yeah, I don't really see much else that I'm planning on doing that's going to be symmetrical. So the last thing we're going to do is just try to get his face completed up, and then we're going to move on to the next stage of the modeling. So I'm going to come in here, and a couple of things we want to look at here are completing the mouth of our character. And with that being said, we know that we are going to we're going to need some teeth, we're going to need a tongue, and the inside of his mouth we're going to need colored like the inside of his mouth would be colored. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. And the easiest way probably would just be to take the back faces and control page up. Okay, so that is the entire inside of the mouth. And obviously we want this to be a pink. So let's take a look at creating some teeth for the guy. Now obviously teeth are going to be two ways of doing it, the simple and complicated way, but it all depends on the level of teeth that we're going to need. And just for this situation, we're going to hide the mesh that we don't want to look at and be worried with. I think, yeah, that'll be good. We'll just look at that part, and pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and hide it. Hide unselected. Alright. So that's G. Turn that grid on and off. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to make a plane, go to my front view, and I'm going to just drag the plane as you see, probably something like this. Could also do it over here so we can see. And the only thing what I'm doing, looking at this, what I'm envisioning is the top row of his teeth. So if I go ahead and pull this up here, you can see that if I imagine it's coming from here and going over, but we gotta remember that it's gonna curve back into his mouth. That's what I was kind of looking at as I was dragging it out. So Now I'm going to come in and let's see the segment here, the top segment. I'm just going to do for the length. We're just going to do 2. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2. And bottom part is going to be the teeth. The top part is going to be his gums. So going like this. These are his teeth, and that's where all his gums are going to be. And that's basically what we're going to go off of here. So now let's go ahead and color them. Mouth. I probably don't want his gums to be that dark, so I'm going to go just a little lighter. And call that his gums. And this is going to be the enamel, and Control I to invert the selection, and obviously we want this to be pretty white. Okay, so we are well on the way to giving this dude some choppers. Okay, the next thing that I want to do to figure out here is the curvature of his mouth, how his teeth are going to fall onto the back of his head, wrap around his skull basically. So I'm going to go into hierarchy and effect pivot only, and I'm going to move our pivot point, and we don't have to be too dead on here. I'm just going to move it back to the center of his teeth here, and be sure to turn it off. And now I'm going to put a bend modifier, and by moving the pivot point we can see that when it bends now around, or bends from that point. So let's go ahead and slide his teeth into his mouth. Okay, and what we're looking for here again is what is the bend going to be. And now we can see a couple more things. We can see the adjustments we need to make to his mouth, and we only have one vertex in there that we've got to deal with. I could take and move this one in, move that one back, and we can move all of these guys back some more. And move that one. And I know it's the inside of the mouth, and we don't really need to be too concerned or careful with it. We just, like that right there, we don't want his mouth going outside of his face. Let's see. Alright, so we now have an appropriate opening, and we can see how much room the mouth has inside of his face, which is good. I'll just make just a couple of last minute adjustments here. I'm not going to worry with that one too much. Okay, so the mouth's good. Let's go back to the teeth. And I actually think that that's looking pretty good. 90. would actually be more appropriate. And I can also make some decisions here on the inside of his mouth. And like one of the things I'm looking at, if his gums butt right up to his lip like this, and these vertices are kind of in the way. So we can do something like that. But you know, it all comes down to what is the plan for your mouth animations. It's really kind of you know, how in depth, how intense. Like if you were planning on doing an animated sequence where we one of those typical animations where the character opens his mouth and the camera flies into his mouth and down his throat, well then you're going to need a little bit more complicated of a mouth mesh. But you know, every character might not need that kind of detail. I think that's pretty good right there, though. And if you don't want to take it, you know, all the way the 90 degrees, all the way back, you don't have to. Can also use my scale tool and scale on the X over more, like that, which I think looks a little better. Okay, so pretty happy with that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back out like this, so we can now start working on actually developing these. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click and go collapse all, and then just hit yes. So now we're down to an editable poly, and I'm going to rename this top teeth. Now if we were doing a game character and this guy was going into a game, which I'm sure I'll do a tutorial, a whole series on that later, the teeth, if we were going to actually have mouth animation, the teeth would probably actually be attached to the mesh. Doesn't have to be modeled from the same mesh. Like it doesn't have to be attached to the vertices and, you know, like extruded out of the mouth, but it would have to be attached to the actual head, because it's just what game engines need. But since we're not, we don't have to. So our teeth are going to always be separate. So let's go ahead and throw our symmetry. So our symmetry is good. Okay, so we can now go in and start working on our teeth. And I'm going to go into our layer manager. I'm going to make a new layer called the teeth. Now we're going to have the top and bottom teeth in there. Okay, so we got to start asking ourselves what kind of teeth do we want. A couple of things. First off, do we want to see the separation in between his teeth? Like, do we want him to have buck teeth? Because that would be, you know, that would give us a completely different look. Come in here, just select on this one vertice and hit break, and then we see that it splits it like that. Break. And now since we're we're starting to curve around, we want to turn on our edge constraints so that it's actually going to follow the edge. So right click, break, and separate them out. Break. And I know I pretty much answered my own question by actually breaking the vertices here. It's really something I wanted to do so you can kind of see how I would approach it if we didn't want the teeth perfect, but we know that this guy's not going to have flawless teeth. Alright, next couple things we are going to do here. I'm going to take this middle row. Okay, it's not going to, so ring right through the gums, connect once, hit ring again. So we rung through, just to show, select on it, ring, because what we're trying to do is the easiest way to add segments right down the middle. Okay, so I could come here and go ring, connect, do the next one, ring, connect, or I can ring all the way across, connect once. Now I'm selected on this middle edge, and now if I ring, we see that it rings down all of them. So when we connect this one, they all get those subdivisions. So that was kind of the point that we were of why I was doing that. Okie dokie. Let's see, what else do I know I want to do before we start turning these teeth into completely different versions of what we want. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. Just the overall shape and everything. I think what I will do is what we're going to do, because we want to now create some thickness to the teeth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select. This is another good reason for the paint selection, because notice I'm not selecting our middle edge. I'm just selecting on the outer edges of our teeth. And I'm going to go to scale, hold shift, and actually I think I'm going to use move. Hold shift and move these. Oops, we got that edge constraint on, so edge constraint none, hold shift, move these over. As we see, we've now created thickness for our teeth. And now we've got some adjustments to do to all of them. And there's no easy way around it. So we're going to leave some of them out pretty far, just gonna make it easier for us to select on. And now we've just got to go in and fix them. So, hold control, just going to take those. And actually, all I want pick are actually just those vertices right there. Move this one later. This vertex. So it's going to take just a little bit of work, but not really too much. So here's our canine, and this is where the skinny teeth end and the thick teeth begin, as a workaround to creating our molars. Okay, something like that's decent. Okay, move these up. And probably can move these up a little bit. Okie dokie. Now, just go over, pull these vertices out. Let's go ahead and throw turbo smooth on this. Actually, didn't we set that up? No. Turbo smooth. Okay. Materials, smoothing groups. Okay, I'm going to select all my teeth, put them on the same smoothing group. Select my gums. Put them on a different smoothing group. Okie dokie. Now we just notice if I pull this one apart, the whole mesh splits. So if we want to give him buck teeth, then we've got to fix our model, namely gonna go into edge, hold shift, actually drag off an edge like so. Okay, and we see we now have our gap. We'll rotate this So that edge is straight up and down, and then pull it back. And now hold shift and pull this one back. Okay. And now this vertex is going to get target welded to this one. And then these two polygons will get our gum color. And they need to be applied to the gum smoothing group. And there we go. He now can have his buck teeth, and we can change it up and make his teeth not so bucky or whatever. I think I'm going to leave mine like that. I'm going to pull down these teeth because they're the biggest. And these will be next. These canines will come down like that. Maybe pull those down just a little bit. I'll pull these down, and I'll pull these down. Maybe not so much. Pull these down a little more. So let's put him inside of his mouth and see what they look like. He's got some teeth. Okay. Now I'm going to hit mirror, copy, flip it on the Z. Now all we have to do is just rearrange the size of our teeth, and we will have some bottom choppers. So I'm going to turn that off, turn that off. Okay. I'm now selecting these teeth, and then I'm gonna slowly move them in. Because these teeth are a little smaller. Just a little bit like that. So just slowly moving them in. And what this is leading up to is just bigger molars back here. Again, how often we're going to see those teeth? Biggest thing is when he shuts his mouth. We also don't want that. The bottom jaw typically is a little behind. And if we take a look, what kind of look do we have here? And what's wrong with this? It's not far enough over. There we go. Just pull those two over just a little bit. There we go. So I can see he's got a big space in his teeth, which I'm not really happy with. So I'll pull those over. Other than that, it's not like we're going for a wonder of the dental, or the pride of the dental industry. And I think that looks pretty good for a cartoony character's teeth, if I do say so myself. Okay, now we are going to create the tongue, and then we'll be done with this section. And do this with the sphere. As always, we're going to bring the count way down, probably like 8, and I'm going to rotate it like so. And I'm gonna, for the hemisphere, I'm gonna, no, I guess we won't. Slice on. Go ahead and slice 180, because we know we're gonna do symmetry. And scale it out a little bit. Now we can convert to editable poly. And select on that vertex right there and delete. We're never going to see it. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for those middle vertices. So now we don't have anything on the inside. Throw our symmetry on. Okay. And I probably still have way too many faces. So I'm going to undo. Okay, so we're still here. So go ahead and we go back to the slice 2, 180. Okay, but now I can bring the segments down. Probably like that. That's good. Yeah. That'll work. Collapse editable poly. Get rid of that vertex, hit delete. Now I'm going to go into edge, select loop on those. By now you guys should be able to start guessing what I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and chamfer that, because we're going to get rid of the back, because we're not going to see it. Throw our symmetry on. Now it's a lot easier to manipulate. We just have a few. Select right down, connect, and I'm going to give it like 3. Okay. Move. Actually, going to select these edges and connect just one. Scale up and move it down. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. Alright. Select that edge, loop it, and then hold Alt and select off of this front one, so we're only selected on the sides. Can now pull those out, and we could do the same thing like this, and then select on these, move that down. Pull those, and then select on those, pull those up. Okay, now I want to move it into the mouth where the tongue is and everything, so we get an idea for how much room we have or don't have. So scale the whole thing down, and this tongue should basically fit pretty well. Zero this. Okay, so I can see we've got plenty more room to give him a big old fat tongue. I can bring these guys out like that. Okay. I'm just going to drop this straight down like this, so that to put it back in, all we got to do is move it up. Okay, so I'm going to come in the edge, select right across those, connect. Okay, and here I'm going to redo some of the topology. This one remove, this one remove. This one remove. And I should have did that with holding control, so now I have to do this. Okay. I'm going to move these close. Let me do something like that. And if we wanted to, could whoa. Okay, not a good idea. Pull these over. Okay, there we go. All I'm doing here, just give myself something more to play with. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to select on those, and I'm going to go in with some soft selection, and I'm actually going to hold control and switch to edge mode, vertice, hold control, go to edge. So now I'm selected on those edges, use soft selection, shaded face toggle. The reason why I went to edge mode is so the shaded face toggle actually works. It doesn't work with just the edges. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to rotate it down. See how the selection changed? Well, it's actually not a big issue here. And then it changed again. Okay, if I check lock soft selection, what it's soft selected on now, it will always be. So when I rotate and then move down, it never stop picking on those. Because that's what the tongue's supposed to look like. Last thing we probably should do, and see how now I'm selected up here, so we need to make sure that we uncheck it when we move somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to take just this one and pull that down. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it up. So there's his tongue in all his glory. So throw the turbo smooth on it. Yay, tongue. Move it up into his mouth. Okay. So now this stage of the game, we will come in and make some final adjustments to our mouth mesh, and I'm still selected on that one, which is good. I want to pick on these. Oh, don't want that one over there. Just this. I'm going to move this right up to where his gums would be, because that's actually going to be the bottom of the mouth when if we were to look in there. And I would do the same thing here. Pull these down, and I guess edges would be just trying to pick on those edges right there. So we can now move these down. And if I hit ring, notice it selects it right down to the next ones. Oh, undo. Okay, I want those down. Now I want these. There you go. And I'm going to pull these forward like that. Rotate, move forward. Remember, no one's ever going to see up here. Alright, so there's his mouth. Alrighty, so the next stage, Polygon, and we're going to go to the very last one, and maybe not the last one, 8, 7, can't believe it's not that one. 1, 2, 3. Where is it? Y 8 be 9. Oh. Hey, look at there. 10. There it is. Mouth. Okay. Last thing we're going to do with our mouth, under Edit Geometry, detach. And we'll call this mouth. So now it's no longer a part of the face. It is its own object, along with the teeth and the tongue. And this is going to be important for us as we move on, because the mouth is going to be animated separately from the face. Might seem like it doesn't make sense, but I think that as this all moves on, it should, and we start looking at facial animation, it should start making sense. I hope. So we are done with his mouth. Let's make sure, take a look at our layer manager. Our teeth now has, okay, so top teeth 1 is actually the bottom teeth. Okay, our sphere is the tongue, and we have our mouth, which needs to be added. So now we have this teeth group going to rename as the mouth. Why I keep doing that? And since I'm selected on the mouth and we don't have the mouth in this group, I will come here, add selected objects. So now our mouth, tongue, bottom teeth, and top teeth are all in this group, which we can hide or freeze, do whatever. Okie dokie. Now the next, anything else, I'm done with the mouth, so anything else that I would possibly create are probably going to be a part of his body, so I'm going to put the check mark back to body, so that if we go and create any more geometry, it's going to automatically get dumped into this body layer and leave our mouth and our references alone. So let's go and bring out the rest of hide, unhide all. And let's okay, so he's on his way. The next video, what we're going to do is actually fix up his mouth, the lips a little bit. Actually, really, I'm not too bothered by the way his lips look. But what we want to do before we start doing any kind of morph targets or whatever, and especially when we paint the texture, we want to put his mouth back to kind of the default position, the way that he would look. No smile, no emotion, no anything. Same thing, we need to lower the eyes to where he's in a very calm looking state, not smiling really big like he is. But our little guy is definitely coming along. He's got his choppers now, and he will be ready to speak. So we'll go ahead and leave this here for now, and I'll see you next time.